afternoon, everyone. Our team is here to present you an interesting observation related to Purdue students for our Web Data Analytics project. Hi, I'm Vivek and I have Karthik and Julian in my team. Let's go back to the time when you were applying for your masters at different universities. Think about the time when you received an admit from Purdue. You must have felt really amazing, right? But what happened next? Of course, soon you would have realized that there are a lot of concerns you need to tackle before joining Purdue. The first thing that came to your mind must be finance. How should I fund the education? Where should I arrange the money from? Second thing, how should I arrange my travel? How do I get the cheapest tickets? And of course, most importantly, how should I look for an accommodation there? As you thought about the last question, we are sure you must have searched many websites such as Boiler Apartments and Purdue Guru, where you can browse through all the property listings in and around Purdue. You would have also browsed through Facebook, where a lot of Purdue students post about apartments for sublease. You would have also browsed through websites of popular rental agencies such as Granite Apartments, in case you wanted a specific information about a property. You must be wondering whether the rent for that particular apartment is appropriate or not. Am I paying too much? Should I look for something else? Basically, you were still confused. So, what are the different factors influencing the rent? In order to help students like you and me, we decided to analyze how the rental amount is affected by various parameters. But what are these? We spent nights thinking about those possible parameters, like how an increase in the number of bedrooms affects the rent, how an additional bathroom in an apartment will increase the rent, what's the effect of the square feet size of the apartment on the rent, and how does the distance from the hotspots of the campus such as PMU and Engineering Fountain affects the apartment's rent. Finally, do students prefer to pay a premium rent for any specific rental agency? To come up with an analysis, we scraped data from boilerapartments.com as it has the maximum number of listings available for rent in Purdue. However, the website didn't spoon feed the data to us. The website doesn't have standard method of listing the rent. In some cases, the rent is for the whole apartment, whereas in other cases, the rent is just for an individual room, like the one shown here. So we had to incorporate additional coding in Python to account for variation in the types of rent. And this is how a portion of a Python program looks like. Based on the data we scraped from Boiler Apartments, we ran a linear regression analysis to understand the effect of various parameters on the rent. And to start with, we considered all the parameters we scraped for an analysis. This is how the initial model looks like. The results of the regression analysis our team did using R showed that the bedrooms, bathrooms, distance from Engineering Fountain are the parameters that have significant relationship with the rent. Diving deeper into the details, we found that certain independent parameters are highly correlated. Like, there is a positive correlation between the number of bedrooms and the size of the apartment. Also, the correlation between the distance from Engineering Fountain and the distance from PMU is very high. Hence, we decided to drop the size of the apartment and the distance from PMU from our initial model. Further, we found that the ratio of bathroom to bedroom explains more the variation in rent than the number of bathroom alone does, as you can see from the respective R squares. Thus, we arrived at this final regression model. The results show that all the parameters of this final model have high significance in affecting the rent, and also that they account for 70% variation in the rent. Now let's see an analysis. So on an average, if the number of bedroom increases by 1, the rent of an apartment increases by $404. For a 2-bedroom apartment, if the number of bathrooms goes up from 1 to 2, the rent increases by $258. For a 3-bedroom apartment, if the number of bathrooms goes up from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, the rent increases by $177. However, if the distance from Engineering Fountain increases by a mile, the rent decreases by $90. Now let's have a look at how the rent is influenced if you prefer to go for a specific rental agency. On an average, if the number of bedrooms increases by 1, the rent for Granite Student Living increases by $399, and whereas for Evergreen Rental, it increases by $537. For a 2-bedroom apartment, if the number of bathrooms goes up from 1 to 2, the rent for Granite Student Living increases by $287, whereas for Evergreen Rentals, it increases by $264. For a 3-bedroom apartment, if the number of bathrooms goes up from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, the rent for Granite Student Living increases by $288, whereas for Evergreen Rentals, it increases by only $131. However, if the distance from Engineering Fountain increases by a mile, the rent for Granite Student Living decreases by $112, whereas for Evergreen Rentals, it decreases by $179. So how do we finally help the students from all this analysis? We have a website called rentboilers.com where students can enter the number of bedrooms, the bathrooms, the distance from Engineering Fountain that they would prefer, and also if they have a preference for a rental agency. They will then get an estimated rent for such an apartment and will also be shown recommendations based on the rent. I bet you must be thinking, this is pretty cool. Well, we hope you had fun watching this video, and hopefully our analysis will help students in making better and quicker decisions for their apartment search. Thank you.